Okay, just before we start, a statement of acknowledgement of traditional land. I wish to acknowledge this land which we live, once years has been a traditional land of the Huron by the Seneca, and most recently the House of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Land. We're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our November meeting. So, you want to make any opening comments with the meeting? Just get forward to it.
Sure, James, you know me, if you give me a chance to talk, I'll take it. Welcome, everybody. Thanks very much for coming. I know that the opening comment that James read is very, very important, but I also feel pretty strongly, being that it's November and Remembrance Day is this Sunday. I just want to acknowledge and show my respect and appreciation for those that did serve for our freedom, as well as those that are currently serving. So I just want to bring that up. I think it's important to remember those that see this ultimate sacrifice as well. And on behalf of Superintendent Needles, I'll send his regrets. He was unable to attend today. I kind of promised that he would try to make last month's meeting. He's been called away to headquarters. We got some pretty important stuff, but he does anticipate being here for our December one. Okay.
Thanks, Todd. With that, let's kick off the agenda. So first off, our current analyst, Tom.
Great, good afternoon, everybody. I think most people know me. I'm Steph Crosswell, I'm currently listed in 43 Division. And as usual, we're going to have a little bit of slideshow that's going on in the division in the past month. First up, we'll start with their community map. This map is a community map showing the representation of CPLC. We have been able to add some members to this map throughout 2018, which we're pretty happy about. We're always looking to expand. If anyone is interested in coming out, please invite them. And then our next map, which is one we added in a couple months ago, just kind of show the way forward, where the service is going. This is our neighborhood map, which shows the neighborhoods in our division and the ones we've identified as needing the police presence the most, and the officers that are responsible for working with us.
I want to apologize on behalf of the neighborhood officers today. I say apologize, it's just explaining why we don't have any present. I made a commitment that I want neighborhood officers to be part of the CPLC meeting moving forward. This morning, so they're right now kind of tied up and doing some of the administrative and the reports associated to that, so they couldn't come to today's meeting.
Moving right along, our first map is the collisions that occurred in the division throughout the month of October. So this map here, the different colored dots are collisions. The different colors represents the type of collision, and then on top of that map is a key overlay to try and focus out where the majority of our collisions are. If we were to draw last month's map, you see we were pretty successful in the month of October, reducing the collisions in around the airport and in around the top of the morning side there. But the north increased site slightly, which that is our highest traffic area in the division, and the holiday season is coming, so more traffic is expected up there. So if you travel in that area, please watch your driving.
And I will add to that, every week the superintendent and crime management team use added stats to determine where our enforcement priorities are going to be for the following week. And as you can see, that northwest corner that Adam's alluding to, it continues to be a problem for us. It's not just the Scarborough Town Center. I know that, I think I saw James, yeah. We also have some one-way traffic signs in the plaza there at McCowan and Ellesmere. It just seems to be a very problematic area. That's going to be our enforcement priority, traffic enforcement priority for the coming week. But if I can ask, if you could pass that along to people that you know that are going to shopping to the Scarborough Town Center, just to be aware, take it slow, drive safe, make sure they can obey the traffic signs and the signals, because that's a good portion of why these accidents take place. But we will be focusing on it this week.
All right, our next map, this is our collisions versus enforcement. So the heat overlay you see is the one that was just previous, that's created by the collisions. And the black crosses are the enforcement that's done in the division. This just represents how we try to focus our enforcement where the collisions are. Move on to a couple of crime maps now. First up is our break and enters. The different colored dots on this just signify the different zones that we use right now that they happen in. But in the month of October, we were able to start decreasing some of our break-ins, which we're happy about because that's a stat that's been a bit higher this year. In October, we started to see a little bit more residential entries. The residential entries, we can use your help a lot because our residential entries, especially in the past 6 weeks, have been occurring between the hours of say 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And if you live in these communities and you're at home during these days and see anything suspicious, we appreciate the call so we'll see what's going on in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the work that the officers at 43 have done in trying to drive down the set of major crime indicators. Break and enter seem to still be consistently very problematic for us. And it's because they're very hard crime to solve. I say that we've had some pretty significant arrests in recent weeks, which I think have helped driven down the numbers. As Adam alluded to, we have had a decrease, knock on wood. But I will put this out there that we're based on evidence that was collected at the scene regarding fingerprints and things like that. What we need to prevent that is phone calls from the neighborhoods themselves when they see suspicious people in the area. I can't tell you how many times in reviewing the report that was filed by the officers going to a break and enter, where we canvass the neighborhood, meaning we speak to the neighbors next door, across the street, down the road. And so many times we've had witnesses, that's what they end up being, saying, yeah, I saw a suspicious vehicle, or they'll say, I saw a black car in that driveway, and the owner of that house drives a white car, but I didn't think anything of it. But they did think something of it because they registered that that car doesn't belong in that neighborhood or in that driveway. We're asking for those phone calls to be made because that's what we need. You guys are our eyes and ears out there. And I can't tell you how many times we get that kind of information after the fact. And all we'll take is a phone call, maybe either during or prior to it. Okay? Thanks.
All right, next up is our robberies, and once again, this map, as it has been all year long, looks really good. We have been very successful in 2018. Reducing our robberies, we're just over 40% decrease per year. So we hope to keep that success rate going. And then lastly is our theft of autos. In October, we were able to reduce our theft of autos. We got them down. We see our side, I think we're up 8% over last year, but at one point we were almost up 20%. So we have been able to drive the theft of autos down. But with this type of crime, just a reminder, it's going to start getting colder now. So we're one people about warming up their cars. If you warm up your car, we'll give automatic starter. If you don't, you may not want to do it because we will start to see people stealing cars with keys left in it. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a gentleman who didn't warm up, pulled into a gas station. Last minute, he decided to go into the station to grab something, got his keys in the ignition, and the car was running. As he walked in the station, a customer walked out and stopped and his car started running away. Nice BMW just drove down the road while he was inside after checking his lottery tickets. So, if you get out of your car, please take your keys unless you have an automatic starter.
And then it's similar, one of our statistics, it has been driven down in recent weeks, partly because of the arrest, I believe. It's another one that I encourage you to make sure that you phone in on. Additionally, if your car gets broken into, a lot of people look at it, oh, it's just a nuisance, I lost some change, some spare change or whatever. We know that a lot of those crimes go unreported. The problem with that is that we can't identify trends or neighborhoods where these guys are doing it, criminals are breaking into cars. I realize the service has gone to an online reporting system. It's not perfect, I know that, but it's the only avenue we have right now of collecting that information. So when you're speaking to your neighbors, or if you're aware of somebody that did have their car broken into, encourage them to report it. It's the only way we know that it actually took place. Okay.
And our next slide here, once again, our 7 major crime indicators are indicators that are set by Statistics Canada, which especially reflect what's going on in the neighborhood. This is a 2-year picture of what we've been doing. As you see, everything is looking pretty good. Sexual assaults up a little bit more than we'd like, but it's hard for us to control that statistic. Assaults down 6%, which is fantastic. Robberies 41%. Unbelievable. Break-ins are at 80% now, which is reduced. All of us we brought down to 8%, which is good. That overs 20 minus 29, which leaves us at a -5. And we are pretty close to wrapping up the year, so we will end the year in the reduction category, which we're happy about.
Maybe I can ask a Deputy Sergeant Ward to speak to the increase in sexual assault. I just want to share with you, because I know that that's one of those crimes that everybody gets very concerned about. And I just want to give her an opportunity to be concerned about.
I've spoken in other meetings before. When you see sexual assault, people think a stranger on stranger rape. That's not necessarily what we're dealing with. There's all different levels of sexual assault, from somebody patting somebody on the bottom to full-blown sexual assault, which is I don't know percentage-wise. I'd probably be able to get that for you next time. A lot of these sexual assaults are where the person is known. Some of them are domestic sexual assaults as well, where it's two partners. They can be husband and wife, or and girlfriend. It's not consensual. It all gets categorized into the sexual assault category. So as far as the actual stranger on stranger, that doesn't often happen. We had one recently this week with a young girl, and the perpetrator did get caught, and it was a touch. Again, it was an assault, but good news, everybody within the CID and our undercover officers, we find out who the perpetrator was. He was arrested within 24 hours. So I know it is alarming when you see sexual assault, you see the numbers, but you have to realize that, as I said, there's all different levels. Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, and just one last slide is this one right here. As you know, holiday season is coming up, which I said already, and we're all doing holiday parties. So this is always a very important message that you guys are this time. Just please don't keep track. And that's it for me.
Good. On your maps there, could you darken because mostly back here, I can hardly see everything. I can see the spots. I can't remember. Not a good.
Do that, and also the font on it as well. I noticed.
Or that.
And Adam, if you could please wear a suit.
Next up, the items are the safety team, and we just sticking with the theme of having a designated rider.
Sure. Did you say the comedy team?
It's one of us.
Comedy duo.
Just by our sharing.
No. Welcome everybody, and especially welcome to the
Yes, let's get you back.
So the question was asked during our last question and answer period about defense in marijuana and driving and testing and how we're going to do that. I want to make very clear to you that this is not a moral commentary when you smoke marijuana or not. It's just that little sliver of regards to marijuana driving. So I had the opportunity a few weeks ago, as did Julie, to go to that Toronto Police College and listen to the gentleman, Dr. Windsor. Won't read all of it, but as you can see there, we're just calling very smart man. So that's what we're getting started.
I also want to just be perfectly clear that Paul and I know the same amount about marijuana as the space station. So
There's a lot.
So we're speaking as experts.
So going forward from there, as you can see, medical marijuana is prescribed in Canada for over 30 years. That's not what we're talking about. There's 183 components, more or less, of marijuana. 60 components of them are THC, which we'll explain in a moment. And the other is CBD, which we'll see in the next slide. Those actually almost identical. I'm going to try to pronounce that. You'll see why I say THC. Tetrahydrocanol. And that is the part that makes you high when you're smoking marijuana. Okay, and the second part, cannabinoids. That's for pain relief, and there's a kind of medical purpose for that. The doctor was saying that even medical marijuana, though, they will lower the THC greatly, but they can't completely eliminate it. So we'll always be a little bit present in the department.
This is the second part that Paul was speaking about, the CBD that has been used for what you said over 30 years in Canada as a legal form, but again, it's not making you high, it's to treat the conditions that it's prescribed for.
Who's the gentleman at the bottom? Probably should know.
Oh.
I wasn't asking.
You wanted something cool on the internet.
I'm doing stuff in that. But that's okay.
Muhammad Ali and looking at the picture. Yeah.
Wow. My horse passed away from Parkinson's, but that would have been a huge benefit.
So I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at the paper, and actually the chief has come out for us as officers. We have to be, if we were to partake in legal marijuana, we have to be away from work for 28 days before returning to work, and that's where all this is coming from. So in short, they've tested it with pilots who have come back and said under extreme stress, whatever the active ingredients are that make you high can be stored in your fat cells. So in, like, for Paul and I, we would have a fair amount of storage, should we, if we were to keep using it, and then all that obviously is repeatedly stored, and then we're into some situation where all the adrenaline and all that stuff is released, it's possible that we see the high effects again, not the
Therapeutic part.
therapeutic part. Thank you.
Why not? Just to really kind of get to the crux of what's going on, you'll see the device at the bottom. The only service that's going to be using that right now in Ontario is Ottawa. And we'll find the others to follow, but you'll see some information on there. It does not measure the level of impairment. In fact, even the level of THC that's in the system, just show that it's present. And you can see there, it's present for 4 to 6 hours in the system. The number of challenges that. But it is the same, they do have a track record, and it is the same company, the director that does the both sides as well.
So just so everyone's clear, so if somebody is charged with impaired driving, we always just say they're 80. As for the alcohol portion, that we can do the scientific test, the driver is brought back to a police facility, they blow their breath into a machine, and it gives us a number reading. That's where we get the over 80. And then the other half of the charge, or a different section of the code, is impaired driving. And that's where we get into for drugs. So all this, the legislation that we would have charged somebody with impaired driving for drugs 10 years ago, that all still is active. It's still on the books, and we have lots of experience with that. All of us officers have been through court and gave testimony on that. So it's not anything new. So just because we don't necessarily have a device or something that we can read the amount yet, and we haven't caught up with that technology, certainly don't think that everyone's just going to, get away with driving high. That isn't the case at all. We still have tools that we can use to bring those people to before the courts.
I'll just read that out instead of paraphrasing, only take a moment. So challenges with testing. With oral fluid screening, there are fundamental problems with it. Superintendent Scott Baptiste, co-chair of the Ontario Association of Police, and of course he's a member of the service. All it's going to do is confirm that there's THC in the saliva, and that doesn't give an indication of a level of impairment is truly. So, driving statistics in Canada, 1 in 7 users of marijuana. I have admit the talents because, of course, most likely higher those that fully admit to driving within 2 hours consuming in Canada. One of our better comparisons is Colorado, of course, was legalized for some time. Not a statistic there, but 50% increase, 50% increase in alcohols since legalization. And as you can see, 16.5% of fatalities have been found by THC in their systems, increase in the meter 238%.
So the last Canadian statistics we were able to find today were from 2014 from MAD Canada. And of 14, just over 26% were found to have some type of drug in their system, the most common being cannabis. So we do have kind of a benchmark, and as we go forward as a society, we'll see if we follow an example, or hopefully we can not, hopefully we can be the opposite.
Because actually, you said that picture of Julie and I had on the last meeting.
28 days naked.
And you finally didn't help, we don't have too much with the quotes here. People want to argue that we for alcohol, do not care. The science is telling us that people are affected at these levels, that driving crews are affected. I don't know why I said these levels twice. And that collision risk is elevated at these levels, and that's the bottom line. So you'll hear the things on that, a lot of questions. You think you're a great answer, but you're not. You think you need this, but you're not. All the science is the same with this. One thing we don't have mentioned there, of course, is we're just running with the THC level. So picture that person that was going for a beer and they grabbed one bottle and it was 2% alcohol. And the very next bottle is 20% alcohol. And that's the kind of fluctuation we're seeing with a lot of that in the challenge. So, not intended to be a moral statement on the consumption of the product, but just please don't do it. Please be smart about it.
I have a question. Is there any impairment of inhaling smoke?
So you're referring to secondhand smoke?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but I do play one in the CPLC meeting. On that note, it's supposed to be that you would really almost have to try to have impaired by secondhand smoke.
So if I'm in a room where it's not completely legal and they're all having a wonderful time and I have to be there for whatever reason and I'm leaving, am I impaired?
So I'm not really making a party to see the chances we can run out after staying at a party.
What did they say, Paul? 4 to 6 hours?
4 to 6 hours of straight inhaling secondhand smoke.
That being said, I think anyone who's ever been in a room with secondhand marijuana smoke, me included working, I think you kind of feel a little bit lightheaded and you don't enjoy it, but that would be the same for me that if I was in a bingo hall, in the 1980s and it was just constant cigarette smoke, because I'm a non-smoker, I would feel kind of dizzy and not enjoy it, that we were able to find.
And in general terms, again, because this was meant to be just some of the things, a lot of that continues to evolve. I don't let them. Easiest way, of course, is just not put yourself in those situations.
Understood, but there are times when you're in a room and it could be a wedding.
James, that's part of my answer.
And as far as I understand,
Quickly, it's not laws and marijuana the same.
Same. Yeah. So you shouldn't be smoking inside of any sort of a public building.
We are right in the middle of the
With that said, I think you're looking for something that's concrete and has parameters to it, things where we don't know that yet. And I had read the similar stats that Julie alluded to, talking about being in a room that several people are smoking nonstop for 4 hours, 5 hours. And I would suggest that if you're in that situation, even if you're not feeling it, I would consider yourself impaired and arrange for a ride. You're looking for an absolute that we don't have an absolute answer for. But at the end of the day, they're on the side of caution and don't.
But I think that we need a barometer as we're going forward. We need something.
Do you understand though that it comes down to the fact that if you're not straight inhaling, the smoke that's being expelled is already diluted, is already diffused. And then you're talking about the volume of space in the room. There's so many variables. What you're looking to get fine-tuned may never get to the point where you can say, well, I was in a room for 3 hours and 2 people were smoking. I'm high. It won't get to that. Your different physical makeup, your constitution, how much you breathe in and out, all those things come into play, right?
And that's what
So err on the side of caution.
the concentration of that THC.
Yep.
Talking about it's going to depend, and it could be one point to the next.
Yeah.
Actually, it would be.
Yeah, all right, thank you. A few slides ago, there was a mention of is there any legal grounds where something?
Yeah, and again, that would be the same grounds that would have existed before legalization as well. So officers can determine that people are impaired through other things besides alcohol. All the things that we watch police shows, the old thing that they do in the States and all that type of thing. We have other field sobriety style tests that we do, and again, just speaking to somebody, people who are high, whether it be on cough syrup or whatever, can sometimes hold it together for a few minutes of a conversation, but once they start getting out driver's license and it's a longer conversation and the questions start to be more involved, you see people, they slide off the scale. So all those things still apply, and those are what legally use here in Toronto to lay those charges, and yes, we can absolutely afford to get one fall off. It's just, it's a process. It's not, can we on the side of the road, Paul and I, take blood from your arm? Absolutely not.
But it needs to be like a court order or something.
Search warrant.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to get a search warrant, and ultimately, that's gonna be just evidence towards your charging impaired. But presently, what you would need is a machine to give you a percentage of how much in your blood. And a search warrant's not necessarily gonna give you evidence of over or whatever the percentage they determine, right? It would just be evidence supporting the fact that the officer observed you driving kind of erratically, your answers to the questions he asked didn't seem to jive with somebody who was completely sober, so then he applies for a search warrant, say you're in an accident or something to that effect. He gets that search warrant from your blood back and shows there was some residual amount of THC that further supports his charge of you driving while impaired. Does that answer your question?
Just a quick note on that, again, things get more complicated in this sense, what Dr. Windsor was saying, with alcohol, it's a really simple computation. You're at this level, and we can go back and use that formula, and you're this impaired. This can't do that actually yet. Don't have that calculation. And apparently, again, just repeating the doctor, that the levels drop off very quickly.
And that's it. The ingestion rate, depending on if you decide to try recreationally, try marijuana, smoking as compared to using edibles. We've been where individuals have taken an edible, it will look like a gummy bear, like candy, and they'll eat it. 5 minutes. It still has to be digested and absorbed into the bloodstream, whereas if you're inhaling it, your lungs absorb it right away. So like, they eat another edible. Next thing you know, they're completely high, probably so too much so. We've had this with our youth. We see this more with the kids than anything, because they've ingested more than they should have prior to the effect taking place, which brings into those variables that I was talking about. It's so wide open as compared to a little bit more of the exact science that you're talking about measuring alcohol.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That was actually very well done. This will be an evolution as far as how we enforce it and the things that we can do on the side of the road. I know that the gentleman, he's not here today, but he asked last meeting, what were our efforts in enforcement going to be? Yeah, and a lot of it was revolving around the driving. Just this past couple of weeks, the service has taken an enforcement approach on some of the dispensaries in the city, because there are medical marijuana dispensaries that have been established, but these dispensaries that you're seeing pop up now, storefronts, any of the marijuana that you're buying, Canada, the government. So we do have an enforcement strategy. There's actually some search warrants executed, and we are still enforcing that, the illegal sale of it. And actually, he's not here, but there was others present, so I figured I'd give you the
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Tom. So I think that brings us to our last item on the agenda. This is where we open it up to public. I know there was one question last time that asked about that, which Julie and Paul addressed. But if there are any other questions, concerns, comments that people have, please, now's the time. So let us know. That's what we might.
Don't be shy. If you have any community concerns, questions, complaints, now's the time.
A few weeks ago, there was a treatment engine on Sergeant Trail. And happened to that time before you mentioned. And an officer came by my house and took some images of my video system. About it, and finished it up. In that case,
Oh, that's funny. It's already you, Vanessa. No, I mean, we have so many, I'd have to know the actual date, time. I can get back to you on it, but I don't have that information right here. It does sound familiar, I can say that.
somebody may ask.
Yeah, no, understood. If I can just ask you to give Paul or Julie the details, date, time, that sort of thing, and absolutely I can speak to it.
The case up.
Yep, and if you like, if you're super curious, I can even have them contact you so that we can let you know where we're at with the investigation, okay?
Okay, so Paul, maybe if you want to get some.
For the TTC bus question?
I have to speak into a microphone. I refuse to speak within a microphone. Jay, for those that don't know, there is an ongoing concern, and I appreciate you've mentioned it previously, in regards to buses down towards the GO station, but it'll be on the north side. And there is a U-turn, for lack of a better term, where they're supposed to park, but my understanding is that they're parking when they shouldn't be. So in that light, I have contacted the TTC, and I'm just awaiting the response on what it would be. They have, of course, mobile inspectors that I would ask to go down and see what the reason is. Maybe there's no reason we need enforcement, or there's a practical reason that I'm unaware of, but I'll await the response. And I, of course, have your email, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, they primarily have a bit of extra time, or they're taking that break. And now Hydro also doing some work on that area. It becomes very dangerous on maybe rush hour. They're there from 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:36. Sometimes 2 buses back to back, sometimes 3 buses. So we are going northbound, don't see what's on the other side. So,
Right. I did see the picture, and I completely understand your concern. So when I have it back, it could be might be a response, but I'll let you know what it is. Yeah.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Any other questions, comments from anyone?
Mike? Kim?
I was being asked to put it here. You know,
Of course you are.
If not, then that wraps up the general session of our meeting. Just one reminder, if anyone who's not signed in, if you don't mind, right on Julie's desk, there's a sign sheet if you don't mind signing up for you. We'll take a short break, and then we'll just have our members only session. Thanks, everyone.